Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting topic that deals with security and user management. If you're not familiar with my channel, I would really suggest that you go to my channel and take a look at all the various videos and technologies that I talk about, starting from Java, JEE, to React, to Angular, JavaScript, AI, and other technologies to how to deploy in a cloud environment. So today what I will do is it's basically an extension to a previous video that I made. If you go to my playlist on my channel and look at the playlist that talks about full stack web development masterclass, what happens is in the very first couple of whole bunch of videos that I have where I actually started talking about how to use security in a user management system, right? Security, not necessarily, database based authentication, which is something that you could do. So nowadays, it's recommended that you typically use a cloud-based solution. So solutions like OKTA or Auth0 or like Oracle has something, Microsoft has something. It's basically the solutions that has identity management on the cloud. That way, you separate that piece out, and you don't have to worry about it, and let the those large companies and big companies and the experts deal with those authentication. And that's really in a real enterprise environment. So today we'll talk about that, how to use that and deploy it in an environment where it is really robust. Now, having said that, I really would suggest to look at some of these videos because I already talk about how to create that application, the user management application that connects with OKTA or connects with like Auth0 type authentication and how it's functioning. So please go ahead, watch one of these videos. Today, what I'll do is what I haven't done in those videos, and I always wanted to, is eventually deploy it to a cloud so that you can access it and anyone can access it, and it seamlessly shows how all of these bits and pieces are connected, the user management and all these various clouds. So that's what we'll talk about. So it is very interesting, and it will touch base with a lot of cloud-based topics and environment that will really help you. So one may ask, why not use all these nice built-in vibe coding platforms and tools to do all this? Well, let's ask ChatGPT. You don't have to believe me. I have asked this. Are there any low-code or no-code development platform that natively provide built-in identity management and authentication using Okta and Auth0 out of the box? I mentioned Okta and Auth0 because those are actually enterprise-grade cloud identity management platform that actually extremely robust and very secure. Well, you can ask the same question. You basically at the end of it, you will see that there isn't anything that is there out right now that you could use, whether it's Bolt or Lovable, in all this nice, coding platform that's out there. You have to build those things manually by yourselves. So there you go. So that's the reason this is important that you understand this entire topic and understand the security bit of it. And if you wanted to, for your enterprise company, implement something like Okta or Auth0 or something along that line with your existing application, you need to understand this, not just vibe code and this, let the all this AI deal with it, because you're going to end up getting a really, really, really goofy coding that you really don't want it or you can't maintain. Okay. Having said that, the stuff that I'm going to talk about is, of course, if you look at my previous videos, one of the video that I made in my last go round is basically I did talk about an application that I actually deployed in Railway platform, and application was written in Angular, and of course the backend was in Spring Boot. So take a look at that. I talked about Railway. Railway is a nice platform for the beginners. Actually, the reason it's nice and it's easy to learn is because it's not as complicated as because AWS is great, and so is Google and Oracle and Microsoft Azure and all that other cloud platform. That the problem with them is they give you way too many options. Okay, which is good. Eventually, you can learn it, but Railway is actually a nice platform where you could just don't have to pay anything, don't have to use your credit card. They give a 30-day, developer time that you can actually seamlessly deploy stuff without, much of the coding, and that's why I like it. And it's good for beginners to learn. So I'll definitely be talking about Railway, which is this right here. That's one of the cloud platform that I'm going to deploy all of my applications, as you can see right now, that it's already deployed. And again, going back to my previous statement that I made is if you go look at this master class, this playlist, the application that I build, user management, it is actually an application that you can run it on Angular or you can run it on React. The backend can be in Express.js, can be in Spring Boot, connecting to MongoDB, or Spring Boot connecting to MySQL, Express connected to Mongo. So it's got all kinds of different possibilities. And that's exactly what I wanted to deploy in a cloud environment and show it is possible to do, any combination and make it secure, right? So you can see it right here in the railway. I actually have several services deployed. The one on the left, these two are front end, as it says, front end React, front end Angular. Then I have for backend Express JS and MongoDB. Then I have backend Spring Boot connected to MongoDB, and I have backend Spring Boot connected to MySQL. I'll show you. I can just very quickly switch like what front end I want to use, what backend I want to use, and connect to that, and it seamlessly will connect it. Not only that, with all this, I'm also going to show you how I'll be interacting with MongoDB, which is another cloud platform out there, and also MySQL. Yes, of course, I could use MySQL right here in Railway, but I decided to use another cloud platform for MySQL just to show you how I can actually connect all these Humpty Dumpty together, and it works pretty well. All right, so having said that, let's talk about the cloud platform that this railway is going to connect to. The first one is, of course, going to connect to Okta, right? If you're not sure what Okta is, go ahead. It's free actually to get a developer's account. So I have a developer's account, so that's what I used. And again, as you can see, I have an applications defined that's called user management, and that is exactly what I'm going to be using. Now, again, this is not the scope of this tutorial. If you want to look at details, how this is configured and how I configured this, please go ahead and look at my previous playlist. That actually talks about how I configured it. The other cloud that I'm going to be connecting with Railway, that will seamlessly be connecting actually using the environment variable, is Auth0. Auth0 is a very good platform that I also have detailed configuration on that full stack series. And Auth0 is seamless for like social media based authentication. If you want to authenticate via Google, GitHub, Facebook, and then stuff like that. So it's very easy to do it. Just like Firebase, you can use Firebase as well. But I just chose to use Auth0 because it is actually enterprise grade. Okay, then the other thing I just mentioned, that MongoDB, that's also in the cloud. So I'm connected to MongoDB. So this is in the cloud. There's my MongoDB cluster right here that I'm going to be using. I'm actually going to be using this collection right here, users. All right. Then the other thing, I also decided to put my MySQL out on another cloud, even though I could put my MySQL in the Railway, which I have done in my previous video in this applications that I talked about, the Ahaverse AI. But again, in this one, I just decided deliberately to use a separate MySQL. This is also a cool cloud, by the way. It's called, TIDB Cloud. It's got a MySQL, free tier that you could use. And that's exactly what I'm using. As you could see, similar schema and the table. And then all these things are Humpty Dumpty connected, right? So let's talk about the architecture. Now, this architecture is, of course, I have also put that on as part of the GitHub. So GitHub actually have everything. Everything is documented right here, step by step, all these diagrams and each and every little thing that I'm going to talk about today. But of course, this GitHub repository is a private repository. If you really want access to it, please do shoot me an email. You can find my email address right here. If you just go to this page right here, and let me come back to it and I'll show you. Or you can also find out, at the bottom of my channel. If you look at the channel descriptions, that you'll find my email address. So just connect with me, and then I will send it to you, and it'll tell you how to get access to the repository. One thing is here, of course, if you cannot see the diagrams in this repository, you can always open it in a new tab and actually have a more robust version of it that you could look at. Give me refresh this thing right here. Go back. And there you go. You can also look at this architecture. You can actually blow it up. So there's a link I also provided in case the image is too small, which it is. Okay, let's talk about the architecture. And same thing. So this is the architecture, and also the other diagram that I have is basically how to literally how to use this GitHub repository, check out and deploy your own user management system. Right? I talk about how everything is connected, what to download, what not to, download, or what to get, and all that. And this is basically just a steroid version, like a nice looking version of what I already talked about in the previous playlist that I just mentioned on this thing right here. So that's there. That's also, you can blow it up if you want to, and it will also show you the details in a really larger um, screen if you really want to. Okay. Now, coming back to the architecture, let's talk about it and how it functions altogether. So here it is. What happens is end user accesses like through the web, right? Let's say user management, that's the application. And actually, before talking about it, let's actually look at the application so you have an idea, even though you can look it up by looking at the previous video. So if you go to my channel, please do visit my site right here. If you click on it, that is where I actually put all of my applications live so you can see it. Well, sometimes I have to shut it down because otherwise the cloud charges. So if you really wanted to see it and it's down, shoot me an email and I'll turn it up so you can see it. But anyway, right now, both of these are up, the Angular and the React. So let's say just try the React. I'll click on it. So this is how it looks like, right? So it's an Angular front end, and I can log in using user ID and password, which is database-based authentication. Right now, it's going to go into the actual. This is connected to React, connected to Cloud MongoDB, I think. So the one that I'm using right now, let me go back here. So the one I'm using right now is this React version that is connected to this Express MongoDB. How do I know that? Is I can just click on this and I have an environment variable right here. And see, I got all of these API URLs. The one that is getting used right now is this. So I can just turn this one off, like say underscore back, and turn this back on with the API underscore URL, and you will be using Spring Boot MySQL or Spring Boot MongoDB. Right. So right now this is using Express, because I could show you the URL right here. So that's using the Express URL. And you can tell by looking at this guy and looking at the settings, and go down, and here's Express URL right there. So that's how we know that it's using the JavaScript Node.js Express platform using MongoDB. All right, going back to the demo. So I just logged in, and the thing it's just you can have two separate users and administrators. Administrators can see salaries and other users' information. They can change anything they want. And of course, like I could go ahead and edit and try to do something here, but I'm not going to do anything. Update all this, nice, and I can log out. Then the neat thing is, so this is where it becomes handy. It's not too big of a deal, but look, I can log in using Okta. I can log in using Auth0. And when I click on this, it's not doing anything in the railway. It's actually literally now gonna go delegate it to the Okta platform, right? It's going to go and delegate to the Okta platform. Now, the reason it says not found is because I'm already logged in into my Okta account as an administrator, and I don't have that user authorized for this application. Let me show you on an incognito mode so that it works. All right, so I'm going to go with this login with Okta, and it automatically prompts me because it takes me to the cloud, Okta, and then I'm going to use my user ID, this that I know, and go next, and I'm going to use the password. I think it's the same password. Log in, sign in, and voila. See, it actually went to the Okta site and authenticated me and then logged me in. So that's one. And of course, I could also do the same thing using Auth0. So I could go to Auth0, and as you can see that I have several options. I could use all of these things, right? So again, just for simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and use Google, and let's try to use that that is fine. And just go ahead. Passports, it's using Google, and it did go to the Auth0 and went to Google's, and then it did authenticate, and everything is nice and dandy, and I'm back in. So it's pretty seamless, and it works pretty well once you know how to hook this thing up. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to get back to my original place. All right, similarly, so this is now the way I know this URLs use it's user management React production, right? So this one. Now the same thing, I also have the Angular version, right? Here's the Angular version. Now it you won't see any difference, but it is actually a different URL, as you can see, user management Angular right here. What this is doing is, so the Angular version is using that guy right here, and right now it is connected to MySQL, this thing. How do I know that? If I go there, similarly, I have environment variable that I can switch between, as you can see, API server URL, and have the other two also. So all I need to do is switch back. If I need to use the Express or the Spring Boot Mongo, I could just turn this one off and turn this one on, and it will be using MongoDB, if you have Spring Boot or Express. It's pretty cool. So here you can see it. It's using the MySQL production, and that MySQL is nothing but, so that is the current Angular that is being used. So, and I'll show it to you. So that MySQL is nothing but this database right here, right? So let's go ahead and do something interesting. So again, similarly, I can just log in using this user ID that's going to do the database-based authentication, which is fine. And you can also do the same thing. Let me actually copy this. Go to my incognito mode so that it doesn't bother me. Okay, by the way, it's a good practice. I can actually try to do list user. It's not going to work because it's going to kick me out. I'm going to authenticate it, of course. Let's go ahead and try to log in again using Okta, and you'll see it will work. But this time is, of course, it's an Angular application, right? But it's doing the same thing because the application is already hooked up properly. And again, if you want to look at the actual application details, go look at my previous videos. It talks about the application in details. There you go. You went through Okta and go through all the sign-ins and all that it did, and it came back and authenticated me. Now let's try to use a new user, right? Let's say the user is Islam test. Password, I'll leave it whatever the heck it did. Not a problem. And put all this. I don't know. Just put some 23 salary. I'm poor. So let's just say 12,000. And it added, right? So as you could see, I added this user. How do I know that? I am Islam test, as you can see, got added, right? And now the test is, did it really add it into this thing? So I could look at the query user where this is my SQL database where user name, and I could say like, let's say 100%, right? So I'm doing the query and I can go ahead and run it. And voila, it did find it. So it did add my user right there, all that information. So again, it's going all over the places. You can't see it as from an application, but the architecture is what doing all this thing seamlessly, right? So anyway, that's the application. Let's go back to the architecture to show you. But by the way, let me mention one more thing about this cloud, MySQL cloud. Just because you are using a cloud, that doesn't mean you have to be using their editor. You have other options. So let me show you that as well. I am also able to connect to this MySQL database in the cloud using MySQL Workbench. If you're familiar with it, all you have to do is just grab their user ID and password and all that stuff that they provide to you, which is, you can actually just click on this thing right here. If you go to the cluster or overview and you can click on connect, they will tell you exactly how to connect it. Okay, it's pretty easy. It's not that hard. All right, so now let's talk about the fun stuff, the architecture, how this is being done, right? Well, so end user is logging in, right, through the web, right, or mobile, doesn't matter. Then they come to Railway, right? In the Railway front end, depending on which one you're using, whether Angular or React, so this is the Railway platform right here. And of course, Railway has its own whatever security and DDoS protections and application monitoring, all that. It's there. Just put it there. So as an FYI, I don't do anything extra for that. It's already there. So it is coming to this React and Angular, right? Then React and Angular is connecting through several other clouds, right? First of all, what it's doing is it has to connect to the backend, right? And the backend is goes through a load balancer. That's just, you don't do it. That's something that Railway does it. You don't have to worry about it. So through one of these backend, that the backend that I was showing you, these backends are what, anything that you see like in green or blue is something that I had to implement. So I had to implement this. I had to implement the React, Angular, Express with the MongoDB connection, Spring Boot with the MongoDB, or Spring Boot with the MySQL. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the services that I deployed, right? And right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The rest of the stuff, of course, is connected to Okta. I had to configure the Okta. It's already part of it. MongoDB, I had to connect to MongoDB, and the MySQL, I had to connect to MySQL. That's also there. I'll show you there these things as well. So from Angular or React, it also needs to interact with Okta or Auth0, another cloud, right? And then these also needs to be, the token needs to be validated from the server side. So server also can connect to these clouds to verify the tokens, right? So that's why you see all these lines from everywhere, right? Then eventually, the depending on what your, if Express connected to MongoDB, Spring Boot connected to MongoDB, or Spring Boot to MySQL, it is going to connect to the database. This is the database cloud right there, right? You get your MongoDB, and then you get your TIDB, which is the MySQL cloud. So that's how the architecture is. As you can see, these are nothing but clouds, everywhere, right? You got Railway as a cloud. You got the Railway backend cloud front end. You got your OKTA cloud, Auth0. Then you get your MongoDB Atlas cloud, and you get your TIDB. So this is how it's connected, right? Now that's all straight. Now let's do something fun, right? So right now, as I said, this is an Angular, and as I was showing you, the Angular is currently, so there's Angular right here. The Angular is currently, as you could see right here, Angular is connected to MySQL right here, right? So that is the connection. Let's go ahead and change it, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update this guy. That's actually easy for me to go to raw editor and just switch. Okay. Instead of using the API server URL to MySQL, I'm going to go ahead and say, nope, I'm not using that anymore. Let's just back this guy up and call this guy MySQL and turn this guy on. So now it's going to do Spring Boot and MongoDB. How about that? So anytime it's an API server URL, that is kind of like where it's going to point to. That's kind of like the main URL for backend. So, all right. So that's it. So now I updated it. Now, of course, as you can see that I need to deploy it. So I got to go apply these changes, go ahead, deploy this. And it's just seamless. It's going to go ahead and it's going to, start deploying. So while, as you can see, it started building it again. So it's going to redeploy some stuff. So we'll come back. Okay, this thing is up and running. So let's go look at something. So now, if you remember, in our MySQL, we created a user called my MSLM test. Now, right now, Angular is connected to MongoDB, so I should not have that user in there, in that list, right? So I didn't create it in there. So let's go ahead, log in. And as you can see, this is Angular right here with the URL. And let's try to find that user. It's not there. See that? MSLM test is not there because I'm connected to MongoDB, right? Now, let's add a user, just for the heck of it. Let's say MSLM test, call it, I don't know, 2. And yeah, it's an administrator. I don't care. Let's put some data, 5, some salary, 1, 2, 3. Let's still pour, add, and added it. Good. So now I got that user, just to show you that I got that user added, MSLM test 2, right? So that should be in the in the MongoDB now, right? So there it is in Angular. Now let's see if because remember our React version is connected to MongoDB, same database. So now if I launch the React version, that React version is supposed to see that new user that I just added, didn't I? So let's go ahead and log in, and I'm in there, and let's see if that user is there or not. And it is there. You see that right there? Yes, and I can delete that. So as you can see, that seamlessly I can switch back and forth. Similarly, so now let's do something fun. The React, I'm gonna connect it to the MySQL database and see if it works. Right. So right now it's connected to MongoDB. So let's do that. That'll be fun. So let's go back, and here's my React. And again, go to my variable. I'm just gonna go to our editor and quickly say that look, I'm going to go ahead. Not that one. I'm going to turn this one guy on. This one would be on. Now it's going to go to MySQL, and this one would be renamed. So Express MongoDB, so I know which one is what. All right, so let's go ahead and update that, and it's supposed to point to my SQL database. Okay, so now let's redeploy it. So now my React supposed to be pointing to the MySQL database. So it's going to take some time, and we'll come back. Okay, it's up and running. So let's go back and check. So as you know that now React is connecting to the MySQL database. In the MySQL database, I had this user that I added before, right? So I should see that. So let's go and launch that guy. And right there, let's go ahead and log in. And let's see if I can see the user. Now it's connected to MySQL. There you go. See, now React is connected to MySQL, so I see that user. And of course, I can go ahead and delete it if I want to. Let's go ahead and try that. And let's delete it. And now if I go back there and try the same query again, well, you know what? Let's copy this query, and just to show you, I can connect through this guy as well. And let's go ahead and run this, that, run the query. And of course, I gotta say that I have to limit. Yeah, I could do it. That's this 0 to MIT. Right, let's see if it works. Okay. It is fussing about ICS. Let's just put ICS. Okay. Now, there you go. It just doesn't see that MSLM test, as you can see, right? And I can do the same thing. Go back here and run that same SQL, and you should get the same result. Yeah, I don't see the MSLM test. So as you can see that I can seamlessly go back and forth. And of course, the other neat thing about this is, look, I don't have to change anything on Okta. Okta and other stuff would still function as is without any issue. Okay, without any issue, it's just going to function. And of course, I'm still logged into the Okta. That's why it says login failed, because it is trying to log in using my actual Okta account. So let's just quickly try this on an incognito mode. Since I'm not an admin, so I just want to log in as a normal user and see if it will work without any issue. So there's React, and I have logged in, so it will automatically log me in. I'm going to log out. Try this again, and now it's going to be Okta. Shoot. I could do the same thing. Go back, log in. Log me in. Okay. So all boring stuff. So that just to show that it still works. Nothing has changed. So that's the beauty of it. All I'm doing is just changing the front end and back end. Now, as far as other neat thing is, of course, if you want to look at actual code, how much coding I had to do just to put it in the cloud. Well, not much actually. For the server, as you can see, this is how things are laid out, and all this is done and specified in the actual instruction, which is part of the whole GitHub. That if you only have access, you can actually see all the details exactly how things are done and how things are laid out. So basically, the directory structures are kind of like this. I got my server, which I got multiple of them that I can switch back and forth. I got my client, which is Angular and React, and then database is the database which we don't use on this. It's there for script. If I have to recreate it, so like for example, if I have to put it in Railway, all I had to do is like go there, make some changes to the package JSON, add some stuff, add some for the environment, and it was done. Same thing with the React, Angular, and Spring Boot. The only thing in Spring Boot, you have to add this special thing called, not that one right here, because I'm doing it with Oracle. By the way, I have an Oracle version as well, but there's no Oracle in any of those platforms, so I did not put it because it's gonna cost you money. There's nothing free in Oracle. Anyway, so for MySQL, like for example, you have to create this railway.2ml file, and that's all. As soon as you uh, add it to the cloud, deploy it rather, it automatically finds out because when you go to settings, you provide them exactly the root directory where your codes are. It automatically finds those files and it knows how to deploy it. So anytime, it's another neat thing about this pipeline um, uh, is whatever changes I made, as soon as I commit it to the JIT and then push it, it automatically starts the deployment. It knows that there's a change, so the pipeline also is seamless. So it's good. And also locally, I can test it too. That's another neat thing. As you can see, I got various command open, so I can actually start the Angular and start the backend as well. So it's pretty neat and it's seamless and it is extremely, extremely secure, and also it is production grade and enterprise level. And you're not going to get this in any vibe coding. So if this video has added benefit to your skill set and you learn something, please do subscribe, like my video, and do hit that bell icon so that you get notified for the subsequent videos. That's all for today. You have a great long weekend. Thank you. Bye now.